You saw the NWA movie?
Yes. Finally. Felt like I was the last person on earth to see it.
What I have found interesting in the aftermath of the NWA movie, no pun intended,
Right.
was that the whole Eazy dying of AIDS thing.
Mm-hmm.
We've put out a few interesting clips. Like, for example, we put out a Bone Thugs and Harmony clip where they talk about they don't think that Eazy actually died of AIDS.
Even to this day, none of his kids, none of his baby mamas, his mistresses, anybody, nobody has came up with HIV or nothing like that. So I mean, just rationally thinking, some had to go on.
Yeah, and it's just ironic because, you know, I know people can live with HIV for years and look normal and look healthy, but when you're about to die from AIDS, full-blown AIDS, you're gonna look like you're gonna die from AIDS. I've seen people that die from AIDS and they look like they have AIDS. Eazy didn't look like that at all when he passed away, at all.
There was a video that we had found from a while back about Suge Knight talking about how they inject people with AIDS and do a slow death like Eazy-E. And I talked to one of Eazy-E's daughters the other day, as well as Eazy-E's oldest son, who don't think that Eazy-E died of AIDS, that there was something else going on. Stuff like this bothers me. This type of talk bothers me because, look, you keep fucking raw, you fucking everything, you know, out there with no condoms. And Eazy, we actually found an interview as well from 1992 with Howard Stern where Eazy just said, I don't use condoms.
You wear condoms when you have sex?
No, apparently not.
You don't have condoms?
No.
You never wear a condom?
No. You heard about AIDS?
Yeah, but the people that I mess with don't.
They're clean?
Yeah.
How do you know?
You smell them before you have sex with them.
I would have had it myself if they would have had it, right?
Oh man.
I don't jump around.
See, Kate, so we doomed as a society?
I guess so.
And Eazy was known to just have women constantly. So nobody wants to say, you know something, he was having unsafe, he was being reckless with his body, he caught AIDS and he died. Nobody's saying that Magic Johnson is a conspiracy, but yet everyone wants to say that Eazy-E dying is a conspiracy, which I feel...
Well, Magic Johnson didn't have letters from the FBI coming to him about songs, fuck the police and shit like that. You see
right, you know, and then, you know, what I'm hearing is,
radar.
oh, he got diagnosed with AIDS right after he came back from the White House. And, you know, like I'm hearing this a lot in the comments.
Right.
And I almost feel like a lot of these people who are justifying or creating these conspiracy theories are probably having unsafe sex themselves, and they're using these conspiracy theories to justify that, you know, staying with the same behavior that they're doing. I sort of feel that way. What's your take on it?
Well, you know it can go either way. Here's the thing. We've taken on face value that AIDS is transmitted through sex.
Yes.
We don't really know that. Like, you're not a biologist, nor am I. You understand what I'm saying? You, yourself, have never studied this shit. You don't know that condoms really protect the shit. You see what I'm saying? You're going by what you're being told.
Okay.
Now, that being said, someone like me who knows that there's a concerted effort generationally to control the population. We've talked about this before.
Yes. Chris Brown went on Twitter and he feels that Ebola is population control.
He is correct. But he has to someone like Chris Brown, it's hard for him to say that, but he is absolutely correct in his assessment of what Ebola is and what it's being used for. One of the things it's being used for.
If you could unleash something on the population that would frighten people from having unprotected sex, which would make the birth rate go down, because if you're
Right.
having protected sex,
Which
you're
it
not
has.
going to have as much pregnancies, then that would be a helpful thing to do for the people who are the ones who are, again, on this genetic survival kick, who, trying every different method to create a birth control thing. So just hear me out on that. So we're assuming that everything we're being told about how, we know AIDS exists. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but do we really know how it's transmitted? That's number one. Now, assuming that he did get AIDS the way he's saying, then yes, you would have to look at his sexual practices, and that would, that would be a good argument for monogamy and shit like that. I know a lot of rappers after he died really started pumping their brakes, like, whoa.
Really? So you remember, because you were rapping at the time, because I didn't think about that. You were a rapper, a professional rapper at the time that, okay, so when you...
But they was on a different level, you see what I'm saying?
NWA
like,
was way up there.
NWA was way up there, so these motherfuckers.
Did you ever meet Eazy-E?
I don't think I ever met Eazy-E.
NWA?
Ice Cube, MC Ren.
Dre?
I think I've met Dre before.
Okay.
And never Yellow, but MC Ren and Ice Cube on a number of occasions. You know what I mean? Ice Cube, he's that's my.
When you first found out, did you slow down?
I think so, probably. You know what I mean?
Because Eazy was the first and I believe only rapper to die of AIDS.
Right. See, I know there was
which is kind of interesting considering how rappers wild out. Like, you ain't gonna tell me all these rappers is fucking these
this
groupies.
This is why it's shady. Like, why just him?
Yeah.
All the rappers that wild out, all the groupies that are tossed around from rapper to rapper.
Yeah.
Why only him?
Why only him?
You see, that's when
Right.
when you start to think about shit like that.
And there's also one of the arguments is also that Tamika was pregnant with,
And she ain't got it.
she ain't got it, and he actually had 2 kids that were born after he died.
Then they ain't got
And
it.
they ain't got it. And AIDS is sometimes transmitted through sperm to the baby.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes, not always.
Or it can be transmitted, a lot of diseases like that get transmitted as the baby's being delivered. There could be bacteria on the walls of the vagina and of the womb and all that type of shit, and they can get it in that type of way. You can also get it through, the umbilical cord and shit like that, like the mother's breast milk, all kind of stuff. Ways a baby is vulnerable to shit like that. But yeah, those are good things that you have to ask and look at, and stop taking things on face value. Like, especially when your enemy tells you some shit. Like, think about it. If your enemy tells you some shit, don't you have to take it with a grain of salt, or at the very least investigate it your own self to see if your enemy is giving you false information? And we don't have a lot of those resources to even do that. Where are microbiologists in hip hop?
Do you know anybody who's died of AIDS personally? Or has AIDS? Has HIV?
Hang on, let me think. Do I know anybody that died of AIDS? Not that I can think of offhand, but I feel like I must. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I personally don't, but I know people who do.
Right.
As a matter of fact, Kevin Gates' father died of AIDS.
Really?
You have friends who caught HIV?
Man, want me to tell you something? My daddy died February 25th. My biological father, he died from AIDS.
Really?
Yeah, he used to tell me, man, I had more holes than clothes.
Let me tell you, I don't know what it's like to be in a world without AIDS. At my age, growing up, before I had sex, there was AIDS. So
I remember a world where there was no AIDS.
I kind of remember a world with no AIDS, but I wasn't having sex back then, so it didn't really, apply and register to me. And the reason why I'm saying that is that I can't think of a single time that I've had sex where at least the thought of, okay, I might catch AIDS from doing this, at least would flicker. Now, granted, it's your woman and you're a monogamous and everything else like that.
Really? Every time you have sex, you think of that?
I think of that to a certain degree. Because you
Paranoid. That's how you get it. When you start thinking shit, you bring shit to you.
Well, because, when you really think about it, you're not around a person 24/7. You never know what this person is doing when you're not around. You trust the person. I'm not saying I'm stressing the fuck out, but there's always a little bit of a thought like, okay, well, what?
And just like you never know what's in that fucking burger that you just bit into.
Sure.
You never know what's in that soda that you're drinking.
Right.
But because they said that pussy is the thing that gives you AIDS, you're gonna be more tuned to look at that instead of the other shit that it really could be.
Like I really hope that my future children at some point could be in a world where AIDS is not a thing. That, oh, okay, I got some AIDS, let me just take this shot. Okay, cool.
Right, but it'll
my
be
AIDS
something else. It'll be something else.
But AIDS is different than something else. Like, you've always had STDs.
And what I'm saying is if it's something else, they're gonna try to find something that's worse than AIDS. Something that's worse than AIDS. Like Ebola was like supposed to be worse than AIDS, but it wasn't a sexual type of disease. Like,
Right.
They need a disease that is so terrifying that you are just scared shitless to put your dick in some pussy. That's what they're looking for. And AIDS didn't even do it. Like, AIDS was supposed to have you terrified to even fuck. And there was still people fucking raw. And to this day, fuck raw.
Yeah,
broads that they might meet 5 minutes ago, fucking a raw in a bathroom somewhere.
Yep.
They don't necessarily have AIDS. They might, but they might not. And we don't know. I'm just saying we don't fully know. Stop taking shit on face value. Yeah. Just because this motherfucker told you that's how it is. Find out for yourself. I don't know. Yeah. I'd like to know, but I'm not just going to trust their fucking word. Especially these fucking doctors that's here to kill you.
You were the only one that showed up to the funeral out of the group.
Yeah.
That seems kind of strange. I
mean, some people probably just can't take it. Couldn't, actually take it. You never know. I don't know what the reasons they are. We never talked about it.
Y'all kissed in the mouth, bro, forever. Like that's like y'all are forever known as the hip hop couple who kissed each other in the mouth. Like, whenever people talk about weird things we've seen in hip hop and how hip hop has gotten so strange and people are accepting of it, that's one of the things they always bring up.